Hello and welcome to Today's Entrepreneurs. I'm Janet Zappala, and with me to my right here is sort of a wunderkind entrepreneur. He started at the age of 16 in advertising. His name is Jordan Wendelken. Thank you for joining us today, Jordan. And you are a wunderkind of sorts to start as an entrepreneur at the age of 16, and I know one of your first clients was the Dallas Mavericks.
That's right.
Okay, tell us how you did it.
Well,
how did you start?
You know, it's an interesting story, but a lot of it was just following suit. You know, my family was all entrepreneurs.
But you come from a family of entrepreneurs. Okay, all right.
I do, and so I was one of the last, and you know, I kind of just took my role in the family.
All right, so that leads me to my next question. So was being an entrepreneur a passion, or you were just doing it because your family's involved?
Well, I think it became a passion and was first an interest, and so the interest turned into a passion. But it did come easier having known that that it's possible.
I guess you're the perfect person to serve as an example that you can be any age.
That's right.
To be an entrepreneur, right? Because 16 sounds really young.
There are many like me, but it's not as common.
Okay, so you are a wunderkind, even though you had a little family support there along the way. But to have one of your clients, your first clients, be the Dallas Mavericks, and I know you went on to serve pro ball players and agents, so you didn't just stop there. You kept moving ahead and making tremendous progress at a very young age. How'd you do it?
That's right. You know, I never looked at a customer's, their size of a company as being anything to fear. You know, whether it was Joe the plumber or it was, you know, the next presidential candidate. For me, it was how can I help somebody be more successful with what I'm good at.
So you have no fear, which I think a lot of people do. To get into the world of being an entrepreneur is uncharted if you've never done it before. And people may stand to have a lot to lose, so they've got that inherent fear built in. Mm-hmm. What do you say to people like that?
Well, I think there's always going to be fear. I think that whether it's the economic climate, whether it's financials, if you're in a relationship, if you have a mortgage, different things like that definitely play into what could be considered fears. When I was younger, that was habituated, I guess, and that I didn't have as much fears because I didn't have as much to lose.
You had less to lose, right. So as you get a little older and you accrue more wealth, whatever it is, belongings, property, relationships, as you say, then you stand to lose. But as they say, if you don't take a risk, then you risk everything.
That's true.
Would you agree to that as an entrepreneur?
I would say that, yeah, with every risk there is reward. I think that's why you would even have the guts to do it.
So was that your first business, an advertising company?
I started that with my brother. He was 18 and he was a graphic artist and very, very extremely talented. One of the best that I know. In fact, he's done wonders with his career. And so it was easy for me to sell something that was deserving.
But what was your niche at that time? Were you selling something that was your vision, your niche?
I think my niche at that time was just being excited to do what others weren't. And I think a lot of kids were focused on just sports or girls and boys, and mine was purely just letting everybody know that I had a great product and service to sell.
Obviously it takes focus as well. You were focused. When everybody else was dating and playing, Jordan was working.
Yeah, and I can remember, man, when I was in middle school selling bracelets to kids in classes and, you know, marking up my ice cream bar as they were closing it down so that, you know, I could make a little extra here and there. I think that it's been in my blood a little bit.
So you were an entrepreneur really before you knew
Probably.
What the word even meant.
That's right, probably.
And now at the age of almost 30, you look back and what do you think? You got into the right field?
I think that there's a lot of worry out there, and I look back and I kind of shake my head at, man, I really didn't worry about much. Having done what I had at that time, I think that some would look at it and say, well, you didn't really have a focus. You were just wandering aimlessly out there. Most kids are, I want to be a fireman, or I want to do this and this and this, and I was doing it versus trying to be or looking to be.
Right, you certainly succeeded, but what would you tell people who are in that age group of 16 and, you know, are trying to, they've got ideas about what they'd like to get out to the public. What would you say to them at this point?
I would definitely say don't limit yourself. try as much as you can, be it activities, be it business, try it as much as you can within reason, and don't do anything that, of course, would risk your health and sanity, but as much as you can, because I take so many different things into the business world as I grew up, whether it was learning to ride horses. I learned how to wood carve from a German master carver. Like I said, I took cutting lessons, which is rodeo for those who don't know. And all backpacking, I'm a wilderness survivor specialist, so I can teach people how to survive in the wilderness, all just because of the experiences that I chose to take on, and I use those characteristics every single day.
And it's interesting that you weren't really passionate at the time for one particular thing when you were
Right.
16 starting out, which most people have a passion, they've got a vision, they've got something that's motivating them, and you didn't even have that.
I think definitely looking to something that that people would normally want to limit, just sticking with baseball or trying to improve. I mean, it was really whatever excited me the most, and I knew that I could make the most impact in. Even today, I look at something, I play beach volleyball, and I kind of figured out early on, I'm not going to be a professional beach volleyball player. I love to do it, so that's not going to take over one of my other passions.
All right, well, obviously you're a man of many passions.
That's right.
We're going to come back now in just a couple of moments and talk about where you are now, where Jordan Wendelken is today, because you have a pretty big company, and I know you want to share some good insight into that. So we'll come back with more from Jordan, and Wall-iT is the new company.
Sure.
All right, so we'll come back with that right after this. And welcome back to Today's Entrepreneurs. I'm Janet Zapala. With me is Jordan Wendelken, and he is an entrepreneur, has been since the age of 16. So he's had a lot of experience, and he's going to provide even more insight for us right now. I know you're the owner as well of Wall-iT, which is a company that does web development and web marketing, right?
That's correct.
And it's Wall-iT, W-A-L-L-I-T.
That is right.
Okay, but I bet you fill your W-A-L-L-E-T with a lot of green through this company, right? Isn't that the plan for entrepreneurs, to make a lot of money?
I think that is the point,
Right?
to establish some type of purpose as well as be able to reimburse yourself along the way.
Sure, why not? So tell us a little bit more about what Wall-iT does, and I know a big part of it is social media.
That's correct. Social media has taken a huge turn in the last 10 years, basically being another way for people to get their message out. How do we reach the crowds? Well, it really is where the crowd's at. Constantly people ask me, how do you like LinkedIn? How do you like Twitter? And my response is, well, I have to like it if you want to get your business out.
You can't survive without them, can you?
That's right.
So how do we best utilize them?
Well, I think that there's been huge advancements like crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is a tool to fund different endeavors that you have using just the crowd, the social atmosphere and network that is, be it on the crowdfunding sites themselves or within your own social network.
What are some of the crowdfunding sites?
Kickstarter's one of them. It's the more popular. Indiegogo. There's actually over 100 different kinds for different markets. There's one for nonprofits, one specifically for sports, and one for even individual funding.
All right, so people should know about them and take advantage of them. I'm familiar with Kickstarter, and they can really kickstart people's projects.
And that's where it really came from, is people have some type of project, be it a book,
A movie.
It could be a movie. It could be, I want my local park to have a new swing set installed. And then you build a campaign off of whatever social network you've got, and possibly big names if you can tie it to.
All right, so you started Wall-iT when? About 5 years ago?
5 years ago.
And where is it today versus when you first started?
Well, I actually started it when I was in college, and my first customer was Baylor University. And from there I realized, well, with my trendy kind of creative design, it was definitely more youthful, it was definitely more sporty and edgy. So with that, I said, why don't I just lock it down into one niche? So I chose the sports industry. So Baylor University's sports departments, I would actually install signs and graphics, some as wide as 30 feet. and we would install these graphics and do different designs, removable wall graphics, and then from there I picked up big companies like Clubcore, where we helped supply graphics for their golf courses.
Well, you talk about it. Along the way, I picked up some big companies. People stop and they listen and they say, well, how did he do that? Not as easy as many of us may think, or maybe it is just as difficult as some think. How tough is it, or how easy is it?
Well, I think it's just a matter of how fearful you are, or your
that
nerves.
Fear factor enters into everything, doesn't it?
I think it does. You know, for me, I was just, you know, what am I going to lose? At most, I'm going to gain a new customer.
So you just pick up the phone?
You pick up a phone and you let people know. Sometimes they just don't know their capabilities. For us, it was removable wall graphics and even perforated window vinyl, which you'll see on buses, where you can see into or out of the bus rather, and then the graphic is on the outside. I pitched that for their windows of their pro shops, so that you could see out of the pro shop, but looking into the pro shop, you just see an advertisement maybe for a tournament coming up.
I see. So obviously you're always thinking, where does Wall-iT go from here? What's the next step?
Well, you know, right now we primarily focus on social media marketing. We also help with crowdfunding, and then web development. So we'll take somebody from start to almost finish. Obviously they're going to be the ones to finish, but we get them and we set the tone for their brand or their service online. So, and that's what we focus on now.
I would imagine there's a big demand there.
There really is. I mean, there's a lot. Like I said, 90% of the business the economy of the United States is based off of small businesses.
And the reason I say that is because isn't a big part of being an entrepreneur identifying a need and then filling it?
That is correct. You know, if you can truly grasp the idea that people need help and people are willing to stick with somebody who has been helping them, and that's what I've done.
And you do like to help people, because I know you're also working with the Auto Theft Awareness Program.
Mm-hmm. Hide, Lock, Take.
Hide, Lock, Take, which obviously is protecting people, helping people, providing people a service. Tell us a little bit more about that and how you came up with that.
Sure, that's actually the most successful auto theft awareness program in the United States, if not the world. We started out in Texas, and I helped brand the program and then spread it out nationally. It's now in Canada, it's in Florida, California, New York, New Jersey, on college campuses, on restaurant properties, and all it does is help the citizens know that you can stop crime by hiding your things, locking your car, and taking your keys.
And it's as simple as that, isn't it?
It really is.
But it's really effective.
It is.
So tell me too about your team. You cannot be on your own right now.
No.
You've had to have built some sort of team along the way.
Definitely, and I think that, you know, I've focused my efforts down to three main pillars, I think, of business development, especially entrepreneurship. One is spend money to make money. Spend your money on things that will help you make money. Sales staff is one of them. You know, web developers, people who are just as strong as you, but maybe even more so in different fields. That's a huge pillar for me. Spend money to make money. The other one is delegation. You know, if you can delegate, you take more stress off of yourself. And lastly, the third one is don't be afraid to advertise.
Don't be afraid to advertise. Basically, don't be afraid if you want to be an entrepreneur. We're going to come back in just a moment and talk to Jordan about his future. What does he have planned? And also about how he gives back now that he's really been able to enjoy some success in his life. We're back in a moment. We are back with entrepreneur Jordan Wendelken. Jordan, you've talked about your history and what you're doing now, but your future looks mighty bright too. What is your plan for the future?
Well, you know, I never came in here with plans as much as I did with objectives. And
what's the difference?
You know, I think plans are, a lot of people can spend a lot of time on plans. Every business should have a marketing plan and a business plan. I unfortunately always made those a second priority. It was more, let's get it up and going, and then let's worry about a solid plan.
So what's wrong with that? I mean, it's worked for you.
I wouldn't ever suggest it. You know, I've made a lot of errors in my past, and I almost learned through trial by error. So I don't preach that, but I would just say, you know, for me, it just so happened to work out. But, you know, as far as setting objectives and goals, that was more important to me. I would see something and I would say, well, let's jump on that now, because if I sit around planning it, who knows, somebody else could take on that.
That's a good point. But by the same token, it's always good to have a plan if you can. If you can do it quickly, I guess.
Correct. I agree 100%.
So let's talk a little bit about, since we're on that tips and advice track,
Sure.
If you had to, in a nutshell, give aspiring entrepreneurs some tips and advice, what would you tell them?
Well, you know, I think earlier I had mentioned the 3 pillars that I think are of success, and I wanted to add on to that, actually, that if you can't think that your product or your service is the best, you just can't. Because the moment you do that, you'll stop being the best, even if you are. So I wanted to add on to that. You know, I have spend money to make money, delegate, don't be afraid to advertise, as well as, like I just mentioned, don't think you're the best, because then you'll stop being the best.
And that whole plan objective thing, I guess you have to be pretty insightful so you know when you need to get it up and running and not worry about the plan so much.
Yeah, you know, and that's what it's all about. If you stick to a plan, then you have no way to, you know, maneuver around these confrontations, conflictions, things like that.
Yeah.
If you're never going to know. The business climate's always changing.
And those who say you've got to have the plan, you've got to have a plan, what do
Yeah,
you say to them?
I think it's just do whatever you feel is natural.
Very good. And finally, giving back. I know you like to give back. It's important for all of us to do that. How does Jordan Wendelken give back?
You know, I've actually been a volleyball coach, and so a lot of my time I also spend teaching junior high, high school, professional, college, you know, really young groups how to play volleyball. And I've actually taught middle school and high school science, and that was always, to me, is teaching kind of came natural, just because learning came natural.
Yeah. And why is giving back so important to you?
Because I think that sometimes we all just need a little kick in the butt. And sometimes that kick in the butt comes from just learning and hearing. There's so many things in my past I know that I could pinpoint, just, oh, I remember that one person told me this one thing, and that changed the course of my thinking.
So you're nearly 30 years old, Jordan. Most people may not even begin their career until 30, and you've already been in the business as an entrepreneur for about, what, 15 years?
About, yeah.
And so you've done a lot more than the average bear, if you will. You know?
Right.
So where do you go from here at this point, since you've done so much already?
You know, a lot of it is maintenance. You know, you get something started, then you maintain it. It's funny because I actually coached that same philosophy. Is, you know, you take somebody who has never played volleyball before, then you have somebody who is seasoned, and then you have somebody who is professional. You know, the beginning stages are all about just teaching technique. Then after that, it's just maintenance and building upon that. So, you know, I think that a lot of my future just holds in maintaining what I've already built. Maybe there's new things, you know, I have some new ideas that I'd like to start up, so we'll see where it gets us.
Is an entrepreneur an idea person?
Oh man, I wake up every single morning with brand new ideas, and it never stops.
Is that the key to your success, you think?
Creativity definitely is. Whether it's the business owner or somebody who works for the business, I think it's all about putting the right people in the right places. They call it like the business bus, putting the right people in the right seats.
Partnerships?
Definitely.
Is that part of what you have going?
Yeah, I think that being a business owner could be a partner, and your role may be a financial role. Your success in being able to help support somebody else, that may be it. I don't think that one person over another, depending on whatever their role is in a business, I don't think that that makes them more or less a business person. I think that any type of position that you hold in a business is just as important as the other.
Why do you think it is that some people make it big, like yourself, as entrepreneurs, and some don't?
You know, I'm approached every single day with new customers and customers who want, you know, to partner with me, and if I can help them get to this level, they can get this percentage. Everybody wants to be able to say, hey, if I can make $1 million, I'll pay you $100,000. Everybody will say that. I think it really matters it can't just be a great idea. It has to be a great idea that has potential, and it has to be a great idea that can service a lot of people. If you've just said, oh, this idea will help, 20 people, that's not going to be as successful.
So when you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, you have to identify the need, and you have to be able to fill that need, but it also takes a certain characteristic in the individual to make sure that they can follow through with that, with their so-called plan, if you will,
Yes.
to make sure that the end result is what it should be, which is success. But not all people can get to that point. So would you say it takes the patience, the tenacity, it takes
integrity.
Yeah, never say die kind of philosophy, right?
That's right.
Integrity is big, right?
It is.
Most entrepreneurs say that. Why is integrity important to you as an entrepreneur?
Because I believe in order to gain, whether it's trust with customers or financial support and backers, I think you have to have that. I think that the business world today is lacking integrity because we get a lot of our cues from, our forefathers, and with political climates and things like that, economic climates. I think a lot of people are grasping onto real quick things, fast money, and it can't be about fast money.
Nothing
it's all about
happens.
patience.
Yeah, true success. It is all about patience. True success doesn't happen overnight.
That's right.
Right. All right, Jordan Wendelken, thank you so much. The owner of Wall-iT, and an entrepreneur since he was 16 years old. Thank you so much for being on the show. And if you would like to be on the show, please visit our website. I'm Janet Zappala. Thank you for joining us.